So let's talk about a pretty profound tantric idea, that the act of loving can actually be a meditation, like a real doorway to what they call everlasting life. It's this technique for turning an experience we all know into something, well, transcendent. So how on earth does that work? It all starts with one kind of cryptic instruction. The whole thing kicks off with this single line, this mystical instruction from an ancient text. It's a sutra, a teaching given from the god Shiva to his partner. And it sounds poetic, right? But it's actually meant to be a very, very precise technical guide. The keywords here are enter the caressing and everlasting life. This is our central puzzle, and to even begin to solve it, we first have to understand the problem it's trying to fix.
And that problem? Well, we can call it the purpose-driven trap. You know what I'm talking about. It's that state of living a tense, anxious life, where everything we do is just a means to some future end. This constant focus on purpose, on what's next, it completely prevents us from ever truly being where we are. And this slide, it just lays out that fundamental conflict perfectly. On one side, you've got the calculative mind. It's always focused on the future. Earning money, building a house, climbing the ladder. It's all a means to an end. But on the other side, you have love. And you can't calculate love, can you? It has no purpose beyond itself. It only exists right here, right now. And that is exactly why a mind that's always chasing goals has such a hard time truly experiencing it.
This brings us to a really striking connection. The source text argues that there are three profound experiences that can only, and I mean only, happen in the present moment: love, death, and meditation. Think about it. You can't die in the future or the past. It always happens now. And it's the exact same thing for love. So if you're afraid of being fully present for one of them, you're going to be unable to truly access the others.
Okay, so if we're all caught in this trap of time, how do we get out? Well, the philosophy here suggests that love is the most natural, the most accessible door. It's that one experience where we most easily drop our obsession with what happened and what's going to happen and just fall into the now.
And that leads to the key question, right? We tend to think of the present as just this tiny, fleeting sliver of time between what was and what will be. But this teaching proposes a completely different model for understanding our existence.
And this is a brilliant way to picture it. Think of time as a horizontal line that we're all traveling along, from past to future. But the present moment? It's not on that line. The present is a vertical dimension. It's a depth that you fall into. It's eternity. So when you are truly deeply in the now, you're not moving forward anymore. You're going deeper into what is.
This idea of an existence outside of our normal linear time, it isn't unique to Tantra. When Jesus was asked about his kingdom of God, his reply was simply, "There shall be time no longer." He wasn't talking about a place. He was describing a state of being, a vertical reality that exists right here, right now, totally separate from the horizontal flow of our day-to-day lives.
The story of the mystic Mira just makes this crystal clear. Her husband, who was totally stuck in horizontal time, asked her where her beloved Krishna was, since he'd, lived 5,000 years earlier. And Mira's reply was amazing. She said Krishna was here, in the present, while her husband was not. To her, the one who was present in that vertical dimension of eternity was more real than the man physically standing in front of her. It just shows you, closeness isn't about time or space, it's about which dimension you're living in.
Okay, so, knowing all of that, how do we actually use love as a meditation? Let's get into the practical technique for entering this vertical dimension, this state of everlasting life.
It really just boils down to these 3 steps. First, you have to forget yourself. That sense of I, the ego, the observer that stands apart and watching, it has to disappear. Second, you stop being the actor in the scene. You're not the lover or the beloved anymore, and you just dissolve into the action itself. And finally, you become the experience. You are not kissing someone, you are the kiss. And that right there, that is the core of the whole transformation. When the actor disappears, only the act is left. You stop being a noun, a person who is loving, and you become a verb. You are just a flow of loving energy. You're no longer separate from the experience. You are the experience itself.
Okay, let's zoom out for a moment and see where this whole thing fits into the broader philosophy of Tantra. Because this isn't just some isolated technique. It's part of a much grander vision for human energy and its incredible potential. So Tantra sees our life energy as a journey. It starts with sex,
which is seen not as something sinful or bad, but as the innocent seed of pure life force. That seed, when it's nurtured, can blossom into love. And then love, when it becomes a meditation through the technique we just talked about, can transform into light, a state of pure, conscious awareness.
This ancient, kind of daring view of sexuality as something sacred, well, it's something our modern culture really struggles with. The psychologist Carl Jung tells this great story of visiting a temple in India that was just filled with these phallic symbols. His guide, a modern pundit, was so ashamed he would only whisper that they were private parts. It just goes to show how far we've drifted from seeing this energy as the very seed of spiritual life.
And this really highlights the critical difference in attitude. When sex is just sex, the other person can become an instrument, a means to your own end. But when it blossoms into love, they become a partner. You aren't using them, you are joining them on a shared journey to enter a new world, together.
And that brings us right back around to where we started. We live in a world that is obsessed with purpose, with goals, with what's next. But this philosophy, it offers a pretty radical alternative. What if the most meaningful, the most blissful, the most real moments of our lives are the ones that have no purpose at all? The moments where we simply stop trying and just become the experience itself.